Welcome to Faith 7 Business, where faith doesn't sit on the sidelines of the marketplace, but leads the way for a new generation of kingdom-minded entrepreneurs. Here, we believe business isn't just about making a profit, it's about fulfilling a purpose. You weren't born just to make a living, you were called to leave a divine legacy in your generation. Faith 7 Business is a community for those who dare to build not just with capital, but with conviction. For leaders who choose to place God at the top of their org chart, so every decision becomes an act of worship. For believers who know that a business culture can mirror the kingdom of heaven. Here, you'll find biblical strategies for God-centered growth, real stories of faith in action from the battlefield of business, tools, teachings, and encouragement to build a company that's both powerful and holy. But remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth. Deuteronomy chapter 8 sentence 18. Faith 7 Business isn't just a channel, it's a movement. Not just a place to watch, but a place to belong. Not just to grow, but to stand firm through the storm. And rise with a vision from heaven. Welcome to Faith 7 Business. Your real journey starts here. Ethics, the unshakable foundation of modern leadership. It takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. If you think about that, you'll do things differently. Warren Buffett. Have you ever stopped to ask, in a world spinning through crisis after crisis, what truly keeps a business standing firm? We are living in an era where trust is more precious than diamonds. And integrity has become the most powerful currency. A company is no longer valued solely by numbers on a financial statement, but by the depth of its moral compass, a quiet force that determines everything in the stormy sea of VUCA. VUCA is not just a business theory, it's the daily reality every leader wakes up to face. A volatile world, where a single tweet can wipe out $100 billion in market value. An uncertain landscape, where AI rewrites the rules faster than the boardroom can respond. A complex supply chain, where a single missing part in Asia halts a factory in the US. An ambiguous flood of data, where even the smartest minds can misread the signs. In such a world, integrity is no longer optional, it is your compass for survival. And ethics is no longer a chapter in the HR handbook, it is the core of leadership strategy. The wise man builds his house on the rock. Matthew chapter 7 sentence 24. Today, that rock is a moral foundation built on transparency, honesty, and justice. No one wants to do business with a shiny brand that's hollow inside. No one stays loyal to a talented leader who lacks heart. Integrity doesn't just inspire, it builds trust, strengthens teams, wins markets, and leaves a legacy. And when we look back at the Israelites' journey through the desert, a VUCA world of their own, what kept them going? It wasn't just manna from heaven. It was Deuteronomy chapter 28, a divine charter of ethics, a principle that declared, obedience brings blessing. It became their spiritual operating system, sustaining their identity, justice, and hope amid wilderness chaos. Today's lesson is an invitation, not just to analyze the VUCA world, but to rediscover something ancient yet urgent, ethical leadership. You'll discover why trust is the new measure of brand value. How Deuteronomy chapter 28 can become your leadership GPS in a modern-day wilderness. What early ethics indicators every CEO should monitor. And most importantly, how to make integrity your long-term competitive advantage, not through promises, but through unwavering action. Because true leadership is not about producing results. It's about holding fast to your values, even when it costs you in the short term, to gain eternal reward. Are you ready to begin this journey? Not just to learn how to lead well, but to become a leader who is deeply trusted by your team, your community, and the Almighty Himself. Chapter 1. Ethics in the Eye of the VUCA Storm. Intro. When the world shifts, what remains unshakable? There are moments in history when the world turns a new page, without warning, without a map, and without any old motto that still holds true. We're living in such a moment now, one where leaders can't simply be good decision makers, they must be guardians of moral clarity in the chaos. If technology is the sail, and strategy is the compass, then ethics is the anchor keeping a business from being swept away by market turbulence. In this landscape, let us name the storm, VUCA. 1.1 VUCA, the four turbulent winds of the 21st century. Volatility. Commodity prices shift daily, policies flip every election cycle. A single tweet from a billionaire can sink billions in shareholder value. Business cycles are now shorter than some product lifespans. Volatility means a 5-year plan might be outdated after 5 weeks. Uncertainty. AI is rewriting the rules. ESG isn't a trend, it's a requirement. Carbon taxes, blockchain, smart grids, they're evolving faster than your strategic planning cycle. Today's leader must make decisions without tomorrow's data. Complexity. A missing microchip in Malaysia can shut down a plant in Mexico. The global business world is an intricately interdependent network. Every weak link can trigger a domino collapse. Strategy is no longer about isolated optimization, it's about orchestrating stability amid countless variables. Ambiguity. We live in oceans of data but starve for clarity. Forecasts conflict, plans are built on assumptions. Anything might happen, but nobody's certain what really will. 1.2 Trust, the most valuable invisible currency. In a world where customer loyalty can flip after a 30-second scandal, trust is the most valuable intangible asset. According to the 2024 Edelman Trust Barometer, 61% of global consumers would abandon their favorite brand if they discovered unethical behavior, regardless of product quality or price. In 2019, CVS Health stopped selling tobacco and lost $2 billion in short-term revenue. But what they gained was long-term trust, which helped fuel a 10% growth in their health insurance customer base within 2 years. This proves one thing: in the long run, integrity is not just a virtue, it's a competitive strategy. 1.3 Deuteronomy chapter 28 A moral GPS in the VUCA wilderness. The Israelites lived through their own, ancient VUCA world, on their way from Egypt to the Promised Land. Volatility, scarcity of water. Uncertainty, no clear timeline to reach their destination. Complexity, 12 tribes with diverse customs and tensions. Ambiguity, no satellite maps or GPS guidance. God didn't give them a map, He gave them Deuteronomy chapter 28. A covenant, a moral framework, a divine roadmap where obedience leads to blessing and rebellion to consequence. It was their spiritual operating system, sustaining order, justice, and hope in the chaos of the wilderness. 1.45 Early warning indicators for ethical leadership. Ethical leaders don't wait for scandal to course correct, they read the radar early. Here are 5 early warning signs of ethical erosion in any organization. ENPS, Employee Net Promoter Score, less than +20 right pointing arrow. Your people no longer promote your leadership or mission. Cole sentiment less than 60% positive right pointing arrow. Public trust in your brand is slipping. Supplier integrity rating below B. Right pointing arrow. Supply chain ethics are at risk. Customer complaint resolution time greater than 48 hours for major issues. Right pointing arrow. Trust with clients is silently eroding. Whistleblower cases substantiated greater than 3 per quarter. Right pointing arrow. Internal controls are leaking. And culture is breaking down. 1.5 Seeds of hope. Integrity is the deep root of leadership. Markets change, taxes change, technology shifts, business models rise and fall. But what must never change is the moral character of the leader. Integrity is the deep root that anchors a business through all seasons. Knowing who you are, identity grounded. Knowing whom you serve, community centered. Knowing what you stand for, eternity driven values. When building KPIs, don't just ask, how much? Dare to ask, how was it achieved? Who's paying the hidden price? Because the truly great leader isn't remembered for their balance sheet alone, but for the values they wove into the legacy of a generation. Chapter 2 Theology of Blessing. From Deuteronomy to the CEO Boardroom. 2.1 The Covenant Blessing Blueprint. Deuteronomy chapter 28 sentence 1 to 14 paints a stunning vision, blessed in the city and in the field. Barns overflowing, the head and not the tail. This is a divine positive feedback loop. Obedience, right pointing arrow, blessing, right pointing arrow, empowerment to obey more. 2.2 The three components of covenant, the three pillars of modern governance. Condition. If you obey and carefully follow. Parallels with transparent compliance systems, ISO 37001 standards, and codes of conduct. Promise. Material and communal prosperity, expressed today through ESG models and shared value strategies. Warning. Curses for disobedience, mirrored in risk control systems and internal audit frameworks. 2.3 Mosaic Law as a framework for sustainable economics. Gleaning. Leaving the corners of fields for the poor, right pointing arrow suggests margins reserved for social good. Sabbath year for the land, right pointing arrow reminds us to implement resource regeneration policies. Year of Jubilee, right pointing arrow foreshadows debt forgiveness and asset redistribution, precursors to modern impact finance tools. 2.4 From Altar to KPI dashboard. Vision. Profit with purpose. Culture. Hiring and rewards based on integrity. Policy. Company rules reflecting the 10 Commandments, no fraud, no exploitation. Metrics. The Shalom dashboard, profit, people, planet, and social justice. 2.5 The blessing flywheel. Integrity becomes visible, right pointing arrow, public trust grows, right pointing arrow, cost of capital drops. Customer loyalty rises, right pointing arrow, more resources to reinvest in innovation and welfare, right pointing arrow, performance accelerates, right pointing arrow, integrity deepens. This cycle echoes God's promise of a good treasury. 2.6 Suggested KPIs inspired by Deuteronomy. No dishonest scales. 100% invoice reconciliation accuracy. No exploitation. Gini wage gap less than 3, 0 late wage payments. Lending without interest to the poor, minimum 1% of EBIT for emergency relief fund. Tithing profit. 10% of after-tax profit directed to long-term CSR or kingdom impact missions. 2.7 The invitation to a new covenant. Today's CEO, when signing beneath the value of integrity, is entering into a covenant far greater than quarterly EPS. The true reward is not just financial, it's shalom, the harmonious order between humanity, the earth, and heaven. It begins by recalibrating your company's scales, adjust 1 gram of fairness and gain a ton of trust. Chapter 3 The 5 Pillars of Integrity-Led Leadership. The wise man builds his house on the rock. Matthew chapter 7 sentence 24. 3.1 Character, inner integrity. The heart of a person is like deep waters. Those who understand it can draw from it. Character is the operating system of the conscience. Practice a rule of life, sacred rhythms, confession journal, and implement 360 degrees feedback assessments to maintain a gap of less than 10% between words and actions. 3.2 Transparency, radical visibility. What is hidden will be revealed. Transparency turns information into a thread of trust. Open book governance, public P&L access, supply chain transactions logged on blockchain. All reports must meet 100% on-time submission. Data access requests must be addressed within 48 hours. 3.3 Accountability, mutual responsibility. Iron sharpens iron. Power requires mirrors. Spending over $50 must be countersigned by 2 cross-department leaders. An independent ethics committee has veto rights over conflict of interest transactions. Ethics complaints must be resolved within 30 days. 3.4 Stewardship, sacred responsibility. We only temporarily possess, but are permanently accountable. At least 5% of EBIT must be reinvested in sustainability. Product design must aim for 100% recyclability by 2030. Renewable materials should make up 40% of supply by 2025. 3.5 Empathy, incarnational leadership. The Word became flesh and dwelt among us. The CEO should periodically serve on the customer service line to hear client pain points firsthand. Audit all salaries for livable wage standards. Set an NPS goal of 75 and ensure 60% of employees are actively engaged in social impact programs. 3.6 From Pillars to 90-Day Strategy. Days 0 to 30. Measure the organization's integrity gap and publish baseline transparency data. Days 30 to 60. Establish an ethics committee and launch company-wide workshops on the rule of life. Days 60 to 90. Roll out the Blessing Barometer dashboard to track progress on all 5 integrity pillars across the organization. The Call of Integrity. We have journeyed from the windswept deserts of Buka, stepped through the covenant doorway of Deuteronomy, and erected the 5 pillars of integrity-led leadership. These first 3 chapters strike like triumphant drums upon the soul of every leader. Survive with integrity, thrive by blessing, build with compassion. Questions that stir the conscience. When you look at this month's KPI dashboard, do you see the face of your lowest paid worker, or just numbers? Is your supply chain a river that nourishes communities, or a hidden channel of silent exploitation? If a confidential email leaked tomorrow, what news about your company would keep you awake at night? Whose future are you building? Will your children proudly say, "My parents did what was right"? In the orchestra of the 5 pillars, which instrument is out of tune, and how will you retune it before the marketplace symphony begins? A call to action. Start today. Choose one Shalom KPI and make it public. Don't wait for perfection, just commit to the right direction. Calibrate the scales. Compare the wages of the gatekeeper and the boardroom chair. Justice is the fertilizer of trust. Plant empathy. Dedicate one morning each quarter to listen directly to customers or frontline workers. Ears are the cheapest, most accurate diagnostic tool. Engrave Sabbath into the calendar. Let the land rest. Let the people rest. Let creativity flood in like the rains of blessing. Invest in long cycles. Build sustainability funds, scholarship endowments, regeneration reserves. The greatest profit is watching young trees rise beyond the reach of your bottom line. A message that creates real value. Trust is the compound interest that grows faster than any financial chart. Every act of integrity today multiplies into social capital, creative capital, and kingdom capital for tomorrow. To every CEO, supervisor, teacher, and marketplace minister reading this is no coincidence. God is calling you to plant the flag of integrity at the summit of your industry. When you rise, your company won't be the only thing that shifts, the entire ecosystem around you will be redirected. Act now. Don't wait for the wind to change before you raise the sail of integrity. Raise the sail, and the wind of blessing will find you. Thank you for joining us here at Faith 7 Business. We don't see your view as just a number on a screen. We see it as a sacred step forward, walking together on the path of building businesses for the kingdom of God. Every minute you listen, every note you took, every action you choose to implement, it's more than learning. It's a declaration. I choose to build on the rock of integrity. I choose to lead by faith. I choose to live and work for a purpose greater than myself. We know this path isn't always easy, but that's exactly what makes it worthy. And you are not walking it alone. We invite you to continue the journey with us in the next episodes, where every lesson will take you deeper, higher, and further into the mission God has placed in your hands. Whoever is faithful with little will also be faithful with much. Luke chapter 16 verse 10. So start with the small things, a decision rooted in integrity, a KPI marked by justice, a morning spent listening to your team. You'll soon begin to see the seeds of shalom take root, not just in your company, but in your own soul. See you in the next chapter of Faith 7 Business, where faith is reignited, vision is expanded, and business is led by the Creator Himself.